Hello. So by this time you've received your instrument, whether you either picked it up from Quinlan and Fabish or they delivered it to you. So this is a typical flute case. Yours might look a little bit different, but overall it's going to have the same rectangular dimensions and overall features. So when you first get your instrument, I want to show you how to open it properly, so when you open your instrument, the contents don't go spilling out all over your floor. So one thing I want you to notice is that I'm sitting on the floor, I'm sitting crisscross applesauce, and that's going to be the best way to kind of, get some stability and open up your instrument without things falling from a high height, such as the chair. So I'll show you why that might be dangerous later on. When you get your flute, you're going to see that there is a name of the brand on top, on one side. You're definitely going to want that facing up. Okay, the reason for that is if you open your case up the other way, your flute is going to spill all over the place. So let's make sure that our name, whether it's Gemeinhardt or this one's Amadeus, whether that name is facing up, that's going to be a big thing. The other thing is we have these latches here. These latches keep the case closed, and they are what you want to release in order to open it. I nicknamed these with my beginner band members flip-ups. I find that it's an easier way to describe these latches, and it's an easier way for students to say, hey, these flip up, my case is in the right position. If they flip down, your case is upside down and you need to turn it around. Otherwise, you might damage your instrument if you open it up. So let's do that the proper way. You have your latches, your flip ups. We're going to flip them up with the case on the ground. We're going to open that up. And notice everything is laying there in its proper spot. Now with the flute, I'm going to angle this so you can see it. There are indents in here. So this is kind of what holds your instrument in. And you'll see they are shaped to kind of hold the different parts of your instrument. So you want to make sure that these are in the right place. See how there's a little indent here for the pinky key. There's an indent here to hold all the different keys and all the hardware there. So make sure that, when you take it out, you know which way it goes back in when you put it away. So we're going to talk about the assembly of the flute. The three parts. You have your head joint, the middle joint, and the foot joint. Or you can even call this the body of the flute if you like. So we're going to take the head joint and the body, and notice how there's a collar here, and then there's this part at the end. So this part, notice it's more like, it's not a finished part of the metal, it's a dull area, whereas everything else is very polished and very nice. You want to not attach your head joint to here. So notice where the collar is, typically there'll be the name as well, it'll be stamped in there. You want to make sure that you take your head joint, and you don't want to jam it in there. You want to be very gentle. So you're going to put it flush. Be careful that's not at an angle because you will bend things. You want to make sure it's flush or even Steven. And you want to grab it, the body of the flute. If you're afraid of grabbing the keys, that's actually normal. You can grab up here by the collar and grab the head joint and just twist and push gently. Even if it takes a little bit. Twist back and forth, and you're eventually going to get your head joint in with the middle of the body of the flute. So we'll talk about how this all comes into alignment in a minute. Next, you grab the foot joint, and you have two different sections. You have, I'm going to put this down so I can demonstrate. You have the pinky keys here, and then you have an area here which is devoid of any keys. There aren't any on the end. This is actually the end of the flute where these pinky keys are, and where this little lipped part is, that's what's going to attach to the body. So we want to pick up our flute gently. And the same technique that we attached the head joint to the body, you're going to use for the foot joint on the body of the flute. We're going to take it, make sure it's even Steven, not at an angle. And we're going to twist firmly but gently and bring these pieces together. Okay, so now I have my flute assembled, but is it in line the way it's supposed to be? Well, there's some things that we need to check. Number one, the head joint or the tone hole needs to be in line with these keys. So I'm going to take the foot joint off for a minute because this is a separate part. We're going to talk about lining up. So in line with these keys right here, and I will talk about these first three and these last three because they're kind of in line. These two are a little off center, so you want the tone hole to be in line with this whole row. So I'm going to kind of maybe close one eye, aim down, I'm going to turn that and make sure that the tone hole is in line with those keys. Now this part's very important because if this is out of alignment, you might be holding your flute like this and trying to play, or like this and trying to play. Both sides are going to be very uncomfortable. So you want to make sure that everything right here, tone hole, is in line with the keys. Next, the foot joint. Common mistake, because it seems very logical to line up the posts of the foot joint with the body of the flute, but that isn't going to work. Even though it looks symmetrical, it looks like that's the way you would do it. If that was the case, you'd have to bend your pinky back here to reach these, so that's not going to work. Ergonomically, it's not going to work for your pinky finger. So this post in your foot joint needs to also line up with the keys like your tone hole in the head joint. So I'm going to reattach that gently but firmly, twisting. And now I have the post in line with all the keys. And now if I put my pinky finger in the proper place, it doesn't feel like it's out of place. Now for me, because my pinky's a little longer, I might even opt to move that just a bit forward. It's all about personal preference. You know, for younger players, you know, if their pinky's smaller, they might need to move it like a smidge back, like a millimeter back or something. But we can adjust that later. But this is just an intro on how to put your flute together. We will get into playing in the next video and the care and maintenance of this instrument. Your instrument also probably came with a swab and a cleaning rod, and we will detail how to go over that. Actually, I could probably do that in our first lesson. So let's talk about disassembly of the instrument. It's going to come apart the same way you put it together. We're going to grab firmly and twist the foot joint to take that off. Make sure we're not pushing any keys or grabbing it too hard so we bend things. We're going to put that back in the same way. I can see there's an indent right here, so this is going to lay perfectly right there. Okay. Another thing you can check and see, if your case doesn't close, then something might be out of alignment. Take my head joint apart from the body, firmly but gently, twisting. There we go. Okay. We got our tone hole and the head joint. We're going to put that. Looks like there's an indent right here actually, so we're going to bring that right there. And then I remember that there was an indent here for the pinky key, so that would not go like this because that would interfere with the case. We're going to make sure we line that up nice. There's also this indent for the rail. Awesome. And then after we close everything up gently, don't slam it shut. It looks like everything is good. We close down the flip-ups and you're ready to go. Real quick, I'm going to demonstrate why it's very important to not open from a seated position. For a number of reasons. Even if you open it properly, I have seen this, even though I've told students not to do this, and it's sad when it happens, but if a student opens it up on their lap and they're talking to a friend next to them, or like remotely at home, their parent talks to them, they turn around, all of a sudden, you can imagine gravity pulls this down and everything goes flying all over. We don't want that to happen. Your brand new shiny instrument, you're precious, precious. You don't want to break it, okay? Same thing if you open it upside down, everything would fly all over. So just, you know, make sure you're on the ground, crisscross applesauce, or even if you're sitting on your bed would be another nice place. Just make sure you're not in an elevated position where things are going to fall off. All right, and looking forward to our first lesson.